なぜ日本人は英語ネイティブじゃない英会話 YouTuber から英語を学んでるの？英語で考えましょう。So guys, I don't want to be mean to anybody here. I'm just going to ask a simple question. You guys want to learn English, right? So you go to YouTube and you start searching English lesson, right? Or English pronunciation or English grammar, right? And you get a list of English YouTubers that come up and have all these lessons, right? A lot of these English teachers on YouTube are not native English speakers, right? We all know this. So why do you guys watch those lessons? I really want to know. Because if you look at the English YouTubers that actually speak English fairly well, they all did one thing and one thing only, right? And I guarantee you they did not speak Japanese when they were learning English, right? So you guys get these lessons, you click on the thumbnail, and then you watch this lesson where they explain things in perfect Japanese. Way better Japanese than I could ever explain, I admit, right? My Japanese isn't the greatest. But you watch these lessons and most of the lessons are in Japanese about English, right? So are you really learning anything when you're listening to somebody explain things in Japanese? I swear a lot of you have gone to school, right? Junior high, high school, you've had like 6 years of English lessons. You get on YouTube and you watch more lessons, right? And I just want to ask, how's your English? Do you feel confident? Do you feel satisfied with your level? And if you don't, then you really do have to change the way you're studying. So ironically, you go to YouTube and you start looking for lessons, right? But seriously, of all these YouTubers, and I don't want to name any names because, you know, some are pretty good, some are kind of like not so good. And I will say just to say it, that people like Moritetsu who teach TOEIC aren't really going to be helping you, right? And, you know, his English is kind of okay anyway. So it's like, why would you listen to somebody like him when you can listen to so many other people, right? So in this list of English YouTubers, there's people that speak English pretty well, and then there's people that don't speak English like, well, at native level, right? So why do you do it? What's your goal? What's your purpose here? You guys want to learn English, so why aren't you doing the thing that these English YouTubers did so that they could speak fluent English? Does that make sense? Because you can watch a lesson about English and pronunciation and you can learn something, right? But did you get any better? Did you improve? And if you're still watching lessons, that would imply that you're still studying. And it's like, well, why are you still studying? And I'm going to tell you why you're still studying. It's because you're avoiding the one thing that all the successful English YouTubers did. Do you know what that thing is? I'll give you a hint. We're doing it right now. That's right. We're speaking in English right now. And the successful English YouTubers that started from zero and became fluent, right? Those are the people that you do want to listen to for very specific reasons. But they did one thing, and that is they spoke English. So it's like, as you listen to them explain things in Japanese, you're not gonna get any better. You're gonna learn some information. You're gonna learn some facts. You're gonna learn pronunciation tips, right? But are you actually speaking English? Are you actually listening to English? And are you actually listening to English that's, well, fluent, right? And a lot of these English YouTubers, they do speak English pretty good. It's pretty fluent. And the tips that they give you are pretty good. You will learn things, right? But are you actually going to learn how to speak English? And I'm going to tell you the answer is no. You got to do the things that they did to get successful, right? So I always kind of recommend that when you watch these other YouTubers, English YouTubers, that, yeah, you can listen to their English and you're going to learn some tips and some tricks and stuff like that. But what's the thing that they did to get fluent? And the thing that they did was they spoke in English with native English speakers, such as myself. I mean, that's the common denominator amongst all the successful English YouTubers that learned English, right? And I don't want to mention Kevin because he's like an American, right? So he didn't learn English, just like I didn't learn English. We just were born in America. We just happen to speak English kind of thing, right? So you guys do want to pay attention to the English YouTubers that started from nothing, just like you, and then worked their way up to fluency, right? So what they did is important, but their lessons aren't what made them fluent. Does this make sense? I'm sorry I'm explaining everything in English, but you guys gotta listen. And if I speak Japanese, then we're not speaking English, right? So I want you to think in English. I want you to hear what I'm saying, and I want you to understand what I'm saying, even if I'm talking fast, because this is kind of a natural paced English that I'm speaking in right now. And I am kind of making it a little slow for you guys, but still I'm trying to speak as normally as possible because I want you guys to be, surrounded by actual native English sounds, right? So basically, the thing that all the successful English YouTubers did was they spoke in English with native English speakers. That's what they did, all right? They didn't take lessons. Yeah, they did take lessons, excuse me. But they didn't stay in lessons, right? They got outside and they actually talked to people. And when they talked to people, they mimicked them, right? Well, some of them did. Some of them don't really mimic as well as others, right? I mean, you could go through the list of English YouTubers and there's kind of like a ranking of who speaks English better than others, right? It's just a fact. It's just a noticeable thing that anybody who's listening can tell, but it's really confusing to me that there's so many Japanese English YouTubers that are teaching English, but the one thing that they did to be successful is not the thing that you guys are doing when you watch their lesson, because every time they explain something in Japanese, you're not listening to English. Every time they explain something in Japanese, you're not thinking in English, right? And then when you make a comment on their channel and you type it in Japanese, you're not thinking in English. You're not speaking English. So guys, seriously, I want to know. Please leave a comment. And if you can, I want to challenge you to leave the comment in English. Even if you leave a comment in English, you're not speaking English, but at least you'll be thinking in English, right? And if you have to form your question in Japanese, that's fine. I'll try to read it, and I can probably read it. But still, the point is, I want you guys to speak English. And how are you going to do that? Well, do the one thing that the successful English YouTubers did, and that is to talk to native English speakers such as myself. And there's others on YouTube as well. And I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I'm also saying that you don't even have to listen to English YouTubers, because when I watch YouTube, I don't watch English lessons. I listen to actual content in English. Like I watch news programs and I listen to podcasts. And in fact, I'm going to put some links here in the bio. But I like comedy, for example. So I listen to Trevor Noah, for example. He's from South Africa, and he does the news, right? So I listen to that, and it's kind of funny. I listen to Steve Colbert. It's interesting. He's funny, and he speaks English, right? I also listen to podcasts like Joe Rogan or Lex Friedman, because they always have interesting guests, and they talk about interesting things. These are the things that I listen to in native English, and it's not that I'm studying English, but that's how I get information, like what's happening, what's trending in the world, right? So if you guys seriously want to learn English, then you gotta be listening to native English speakers. 違うか? And I'm not trying to be mean. Again, I want you guys to speak English. I want you guys to actually become fluent. I want you to be able to have conversations with people like myself. So when you study, right, why would you spend any more time watching Japanese English YouTubers? You've seen enough lessons. You've been to junior high, high school. You've seen all the videos about pronunciation and grammar and, 10 phrases that got you fluent and 20 phrases and 30 key phrases. You know what I mean? There's so many lessons out there, but still, you're not satisfied with your English. So seriously, take inspiration from the English YouTubers, right? Not their lessons, but take inspiration from how they became fluent. And how they became fluent was not by watching YouTube lessons. They became fluent because they went out into the real world and talked to people and mimicked what they heard. That is it. And then if you do that every day, literally every day, and if possible, all day, right? You're gonna get better. And now the people that did foreign exchange programs, they got fluent maybe quicker because they were able to speak and listen to English all day, right? So that becomes your problem. How do I listen to English and how do I mimic English all day if I'm surrounded by Japanese people? Well, that is a separate issue and it is a little harder if you're in Japan. But I guarantee you that as long as you watch lessons in Japanese that explain English, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to improve because you're thinking in Japanese, you're listening to Japanese, you're commenting in Japanese. And as long as you're using Japanese, you're not going to be using English. And if you're not using English, you're not going to be improving in English. Does this make sense? Again, I don't want to be mean to anybody here. I literally want you guys to improve. And the number one thing, the only thing that you got to do is listen to native English speakers just like all the other English YouTubers did. Does this make sense? I really want you guys to process this information. I know I'm speaking in English, so this video is probably not going to get viewed by anybody. I understand that. But for those that are literally listening to me right now, have watched this video all the way to the end, think about it. The more you listen to English native speakers such as myself or any other teacher out there, or actual news programs or comedy programs that I watch, or even TV shows or movies, you're going to get better as long as you're listening and then mimicking. And that's the key point, is to mimic exactly what you heard. And I could go into a lesson about mimicking, but それだったらね、俺の3ステップ学習法に登録してくださいね。If you want an English lesson, right? But seriously, you can skip the English lesson, go straight to the source. And the source is talking with English native speakers directly, okay? Now, I can give you some tips on how to meet English speakers, but again, それは俺の3ステップ学習法に説明するからさ. So seriously, guys, think about it. Every time I look up English lesson, there's always this kind of like ranking of English speaking YouTubers, right? And most of them are not English native speakers, native English speakers, right? What's going on, guys? Honestly, I would say though, you can watch somebody like Kevin or Bilingual Girl, because Chika-san there, because they are native speakers, and you listen to their English and mimic what they say, you're going to sound like them, which is a native English speaker or an American, or British English. If that's your thing, you find those people that speak British English. And as you may know, that I speak American English, so if you listen to me, you're going to be learning American English, but which isn't bad. It's just a matter of choice. I never say that American English is the best. It is native, so you get that. But if you prefer American English, please go ahead and listen to me. I don't care. But you can listen to all the things that I listen to. And all the things that I listen to is why I speak English, right? Like seriously, it's such a logical loop. The more you speak and listen to Japanese, the more you think and speak in Japanese, right? It's like a little self-serving circle there, right? But the more you speak English, the more you listen to English, the more you're going to speak and listen to English. It's so simple. So my challenge to you guys is, well, I don't want to say stop watching them. Maybe you like them. Maybe it's entertaining, right? And entertainment's fine. But for the real lesson, the real thing that's going to actually elevate your English level is not to listen to people talk in Japanese, even if it's about English, right? You get what I'm saying? If you think about English in Japanese, you're thinking in Japanese. But if you think about English in English, now you're thinking in English. And as long as you're thinking in English, you got a chance to speak English. So you have to do the final step and actually speak, right? So you just listen to me for about 15 minutes. Wow, I was only going to talk for 10 minutes. And hopefully you got some English listening practice. But now, hopefully, I challenged you to actually think in English. Why would I watch a Japanese YouTuber talk about English when I could just literally listen to anything in English? Seriously, when you go to YouTube, don't search in Japanese, search in English. It's so simple. News today, World Cup in English. You don't have to put in English. You just literally put World Cup news, right? Headline news, American politics, anything. You could search anything in English and you're going to get content in English, and all you got to do is listen to it every day. It's so simple, and it's kind of frustrating because every time I try to make a video, I want to do something that's powerful and impactful for your lives and something that's actually useful. But I see all these Japanese English YouTubers that are teaching you something. There's no question that what they're saying isn't accurate, right? For the most part. Because I've reviewed some of them and they make mistakes. We all make mistakes, right? No biggie, right? But seriously, watching lessons is not the thing that made them successful in English. What made them successful was actually talking to real people such as myself or anybody in America. I mean, there's millions of people that speak English, so you don't got to listen to me. But seriously, they listen to English native speakers and then they mimicked them. That's it. So guys, I hope I challenged your thinking for just a little bit. And I know nobody's going to watch this video because I just talked in English. And then, it's like, he's speaking English. I don't understand. I'm going to go to some Japanese YouTuber that explains everything in Japanese. Well, go ahead. See how far that gets you, because it doesn't take 6 to 10 years to learn English. A lot of the Japanese English YouTubers that I see, they say they learned in 5 months or 10 months. And I believe it because I learned Japanese in 10 months, right? So again, watching their lessons isn't the thing that made them speak English. Again, they got out there and they talked to real people and mimicked what they heard. So I hope I challenged you. I hope that you really take to heart what I just said. And if you have any comments, please leave them in English, because if you leave them in English, that means you're thinking in English, and that's a step in the right direction, right? And of course, if you want to leave a comment in Japanese, I don't mind, but seriously, I want you guys to improve in English, so please leave the comment in English. And then if you do want a lesson, if you really do want to learn how to mimic or how to meet people, please, 俺の3ステップ学習法に登録してくださいね。Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I look forward to reading most of your comments. Take it easy. Have a good day, guys. Peace out.